Hello everyone, welcome back to Clear Skye Thinking. So in the last part, we were traveling to the Isle of Skye and then we met Ian and now we're gonna meet his family. Well, the morning is just beginning and then throughout the day we'll be hanging out with Ian's family. I cross the hall, fingers outstretched in the gloom, and make my way to the correct door. Then I let myself in. It is the kitchen, just as I thought. It looks much the same at night as it did during the evening, which is to say, it's small and shabby. In fact, I think this place looks slightly better at night than it did during the evening. At least the lack of light hides the dents in the floorboards and the ugly, boxy kitchen counters. There's a table and a couple of chairs set up in the corner, so close to the door I almost trip over them, and an oven and a fridge. There's no dishwasher, but there is a washing machine. I can make out the dark, murky shapes of a few pots on the counters and a potted plant. There's a toaster too, but it's not much cob without any bread. And anyway, I'm not hungry. I just want to have a drink and then get out of here. When I have trouble sleeping in London, I like to drink hot milk, or sometimes sweet tea. It's soothing. We do have some tea bags we packed in the car. We stopped by Tesco on the way to buy some basic necessities, and tea was high on the list, but I don't feel like rooting through these creaky old cupboards in the dark. I'm afraid they might come off their hinges. Since I'm not feeling particularly adventurous, I'll stick to water for now. I head on over to the sink when... A shiver runs down my spine. I pause. I'm sure I just stepped on something. It was something small, soft, and undeniably alive. What was that? I glance at my feet, too afraid to flip the light switch. I don't even know where it is in the dark. And then... Ah! There are great black slugs all over the floor, and in the sink, and on the kitchen counters. That must have been what I stepped on. The bare, unsullied sole of my foot came in contact with a hideous slug. It's almost too horrible to contemplate. I can't believe I don't want to contemplate it. Where did all those monsters came from? What are they doing here? Why? Ali, is that you? Is something wrong? Dad! Oh, Dad! I fly at Dad the moment he enters the kitchen, his pajama shirt falling off his shoulder, still groggy with sleep. All of a sudden, I don't care that I'm almost 18, or that it's uncool to love my parents, or that my dad's the one who brought me to this pit in the first place. Right now, all I know is that the kitchen's crawling with beasts and my dad's the only friendly face I can rely on. I've never liked insects. I can just about tolerate flies, but moths and spiders are a huge no-no. My dad's always the one who fishes spiders out of the shower, or chases moths out of the house. He's pretty reliable when it comes to this kind of stuff. I know that he'll be able to save me. I wrap my arms about him, almost bowling him over, then shriek into his chest. Slugs! These are slugs, Dad! I step on a slug! Oh, yes. Dad glances over my shoulder, still half asleep. So there are loads of them, Dad, and they're all huge. Where did they all come from? I'm not sure. The sink probably. It gets cold at night, so they must come into the house through the plumbing. The sink? There are slugs living in the sink? That's disgusting! Oh, Dad, can we go back to London? I can't stand this place. I just want to go home. Unfortunately for me, my slug-induced cries fall on deaf ears. My dad made me a cup of tea, sidestepping the slugs all the while, and sat me down at the kitchen table. Then we had a little father-daughter chat. I don't remember much of what he said. I was in the middle of a full-blown mental health crisis, but I think his words of comfort went something like this. Now, Ellie, be reasonable. We can't go back to Croydon. We only just got here and it's the middle of the night. I'm sure everything will look better in the morning. The slugs will have gone by then, too. Sure they will. They'll have gone back to the pipes. It'll be alright. Don't lose your head over a few slugs. They'll be much more scared of you than you are of them. My dad's attempt to appease me didn't do much to lessen the icky feeling of stepping on that slug, but it did calm me down. A little bit, at least. I think the tea helped. The tea always helps. I went back to my bedroom after draining my cup. Then I fell into a very uneasy sleep, punctuated with nightmares of being chased by giant killer slugs. The next time I wake up, it's a much more sensible hour. The sun's shining and the display on my phone tells me it's 8 a.m. The smell of breakfast compels me to get out of bed and pad to the kitchen. My dad's at the stove. He's busy making bacon, sausages, fried tomatoes, fried eggs, and, is this some sort of cruel cosmic jokes? Baked beans. Morning, Sleeping Beauty. Breakfast's almost done, if you care to take a seat. I glad daggers at my dad, but I'll do as I'm told all the same. You're far too happy this early in the morning. Of course I'm happy. I'm on holiday with my favorite girl. Now eat up. My dad pushes a chip plate before me, which is piled high with traditional English fare, minus the black pudding. Thank goodness. I poke my food with my fork. My dad made an effort, bless him, but he's never been great shakes in the kitchen. I'm probably a more proficient cook than he is, which isn't saying much. The bacon looks anemic and all pale and fatty, and the eggs obviously been overdone. The beans have been slopped onto the plate willy-nilly, and it looks like a few of them are trying to make a break of it. I'm not really in the mood for beans, not after unearthing that crusty pair of pajamas yesterday. In fact, I'm not very hungry, full stop. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it, but I think I'd rather have toast. Oh, that's good. Shout. I wouldn't say no to some toast either, but I forgot to buy any bread. Well, alright then. I guess this is better than nothing. Though, given the way my stomach's churning, I think I'd prefer nothing. At least my dad's pretty good at brewing tea. That's something you can't mess up. He knows just how I like it too, fairly weak, with milk. I take a few dainty bites of my fatty bacon and alternate with regular sips of my milk. That helps with the meal go down easier. I steer clear of the beans though. I can't bring myself to try them. So Ellie, the Carters will be over in half an hour. Ian and Hilda and Piper. I'm not sure why my dad runs through their names like I might have forgotten them. I'm not the best student in my college, but I'm not thick. We'll be going to Dunscape Castle in the morning. That's about half an hour away. In Sleet. And for lunch, we'll probably stop by a nice restaurant. What do you say? That sounds fine, Dad. Of course it isn't fine. I don't want anything to do with Ian Carter. Particularly not this early in the morning, but it's not like I have any say in it. Hilda's already planned our itinerary down to the letter, and I don't want to make her mad. Something about Dad's rundown of our day does make me pause, however. Wait, you say they'll be here in half an hour? Give or take. Ian said it might take a bit longer if they can't coax Piper out of bed on time. Half an hour? I frown. The Carters, 3 perfect strangers, will be here in half an hour, and I'm still in my nightgown. My hair's a mess, I'm not wearing any makeup, and I haven't even had a shower yet. It usually takes me at least an hour to get ready, and that's on normal days. I don't have my vanity table here on or my floor-length mirror, so it'll take even longer to get ready. This is a disaster! Dad, how could you? How could I what? You know it takes me a long time to get ready. You should have woken me up, sooner. I push my half-eaten plate of English breakfast aside and get to my feet. I'm going to have a shower. But Alice, your breakfast. I can't eat breakfast right now, that's not enough time. I hurry from the kitchen, feeling incredibly flustered. I don't know why I care so much about making a good impression, particularly on the Carters. I doubt they'll appreciate the difference between an Alice and the Pirates dress, or Justin at Juliet JSK. They'll have no idea, being uncultured and filthy casuals. I bet they'll think I'm nuts no matter what outfit I put together. And Piper will be the absolute worst. I'm used to people snickering about my appearance, but girls my age are always the cruelest. There's probably not much point worrying about what I look. But I can't afford to compromise when it comes to my wardrobe. If I can't be a Lolita, then I'm not sure who I am anymore. Michael, it's good to see you again. Ian greets my dad in a loud, jocular way. Does he have any other style of speech? As though it's been decades since they last saw one another, not a day. Hilda, meanwhile, is more reserved. She smiles at us genially and says, "Yes, it's been a while. Hello, Michael and Alice, too. Do you remember me? We're not family, but we might as well be. Ian and Michael used to be as thick as thieves." "I remember. It's nice to see you, Hilda." "You too, dear. You certainly have grown since I last saw you." "That tends to happen, yeah. You're practically the spit of your mother. Priya was very pretty too." My dad tenses at the mention of my mother, and I frown. "Is very pretty, you mean? My mother's not dead." "Oh, yes, of course, I apologize." Hilda titters as though she's made an amusing observation at a dinner party for debutantes. Something about Hilda's just scream upper class, if you want to put it nicely, that is. If you don't, snob might be more accurate. She has a rich, plummy kind of accent, the stereotypical kind Americans tend to associate with us Brits. I think my dad mentioned once that Hilda was born into an aristocratic family. I think her fancy families lost all their land and status now, but I vaguely recall that her great-grandfather was an earl or something or other, and Hilda herself went to private school. She looks the type. I'm sure if Hilda is really related to minor gentry, Ian will find a way to bring it up somehow during the day. I think he would die if he couldn't run his mouth about his family's supposed accomplishments for more than 5 minutes. I must say, Alice, your clothes are very remarkable. I've never seen an outfit like that before. Are you dressing up? Every day of the week. Really, that's impressive. I think these clothes might be a bit much for day-to-day wear. They look awfully expensive, but I do wish my Piper would make more of an effort. Speaking of which... Hilda glances at the third member of Carter Trio, a fair-faced ginger girl with a messy ponytail and an oversized hoodie. Hilda, aren't you supposed to introduce... Sorry, not Hilda. Aren't you supposed to introduce yourself to Alice, Piper? You're being awfully quiet. That's an unusual coming from you. Normally, we can't make you shut up. Ian guffaws. And so, to my surprise, does Piper. I guess she doesn't find her dad's so-called jokes as intolerable as I do. Sorry, I was just... a little overwhelmed. Of what? Me? Kind of. I mean, I've never seen anybody so pretty before. For a second there, I thought you were some kind of princess. I scrutinized Piper, but I don't think she's joking. She looks 100% serious. She's beaming at me brightly, one hand on her hip. Her teeth are just as large and white as Ian's, but her grin's a lot less obnoxious. Piper looks more like her father than her mother in general. They have the same ginger hair and she's pretty tall too. The only thing Piper inherited from her mother are her blue eyes. Piper's accent, meanwhile, isn't like her father or her mother's. It sounds more Scottish than theirs, probably because she moved to Skye so young. She doesn't seem like a snob, at least not like her mother. Maybe she won't be as awful as I thought. It's nice to meet you, Alice. Again, I guess? Dad says we've met each other before, but I don't really remember it. Yes, well, it would have been a very long time ago. I'll bet. I know Skye's not much to look at, but it's pretty nice here. If you like old things, they're falling apart. I don't get a chance to meet many new people, so I'd love to be your tour guide. I hope we can become good friends. When my dad told me we'd be going to Dunscape Castle, I assumed we'd be going there directly. It soon turns out, however, that I was wrong. Rather than rocking right up to the castle, Ian parks a good half an hour away from it, so we can have a nice bracing walk in the countryside, to use his own words. I can't say that I like the thought of walking too far in my fancy shoes, but the walk isn't actually that bad. We park in a small village called Tokavaig. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Tokavaig. And when it's small, I mean it's minuscule. The village, if you can even call it that, consists of a handful of squat stone houses like our holiday home in Atvasa, and that's about it. I thought Atvasa was tiny, but Tokavaig is even tinier. I could count all the houses here on one hand, and there doesn't seem to be anything in the way of shops, not even a solitary post office. Living out here must be miserable, especially for a teen. I can't imagine there's much in the way of public transport out there. It sounds like my idea of hell. I guess this place is scenic though. The village is surrounded by hills and mountains, but the path we take through it is relatively flat and smooth, a rarity in Scotland, and it's near the shore, which isn't so rare in Scotland. The hiking trail is well worn, depressed over the years by locals and tourists alike. It's fringed on all sides by verdant grass, studded with white daisies and small white flowers. Trees are dotted here and there, and scattered rocks half obscured by moss. The trees are tall, almost magisterial, and they shift in the gentle breeze. When I glance behind my shoulder, I can see rolling hills in the distance, their tops half obscured by fog. According to Lord Ian, the most knowledgeable man in the realm, these hills form part of a mountain range called the Coiling. It doesn't look like much from here, but some of these mountains are pretty steep. If you were to go to tip-top of Black Quilling, that's the main ridge, you'll be elevated over 3,000 feet in the air. I've been up there myself once or twice. You'll get an amazing view of the island, though coming down can be a bit dicey. The peaks are made of basalt, which gets slippery when it rains. We should climb up there sometime, Michael. Just you and me. Doesn't that sound like a lark? I would ask Alice to come too, but I don't know if mountaineering is a very womanly pastime. I don't think she'll make it very far without a sturdy pair of trainers either. Ian laughs raucously while I do my best to ignore him. That's how I've been trying to do with Ian for most of today, by ignoring him. It seems to be working so far, so I don't have any incentive to stop. The wind toys with the hem of my skirt and my hair as my walk. As pretty as the quilling looks, all wreathed with mist and low-hanging clouds, I'm glad scaling it doesn't seem to be on our agenda. I'm loath to agree with Ian, but he's right. I'm already finding the walk a struggle, and we're not going uphill. My shoes weren't built for heavy-duty mountain climbing, and the only pair of trainers I own are battered and beaten and slightly too small. During our journey, we passed by an old barn with a red roof, which has rusted over the years. We turned left at this landmark, following Ian's lead, and approached the shore. The sound of the ocean waves grows stronger as we approach the coast. The sea that's lapping against the rocky is slate grey, and it looks about as welcoming as the overcast sky ahead, which is to say, not very. I hope it isn't going to rain. That would just be my luck. I didn't spend this long on my hair for it to get ruined. Damn it. We crest over a shallow hill, the final leg of our journey, then pause in unison. Dunscape Castle is looming over the horizon, separated from the mainland on an outcrop of mossy rock. We've finally arrived, and I can't help but wish I was anywhere else. The walk here was bearable, but the actual destination doesn't live up to the hype. I don't know much about Skye's Castle, but I thought Dunscape would be like a Scottish version of Hampton Court, complete with a car park and a cafe. This, however, couldn't be further from the truth. Calling Dunscape a castle seems a bit charitable to me. Maybe it was a castle once, a grand one even, but time's worn it down to little more than a pile of stones. It doesn't have a roof, and it barely has any standing walls. Large pieces of fallen rubble are strewn across the ground like tombstones. Mosswort and wild grass have grown over what remains of the castle, so it looks like green, faintly fuzzy lump. I can make out a curved stone wall which might have formed the backbone of an ancient dining wall, but my imagination's not good enough to try to imagine the hall as it might have been in its heyday. The island the castle situated on is uneven. The right side of the castle is elevated a good 40 feet above the cold grey ocean, but the left side's slumping. All in all, the castle looks like it's giving up on life. It's gone remarkably to seed over the years, and all the tall grass is doing its best to cover this ugly aberration up. What an amazing sight. Not. Just looking at it makes me feel depressed. This place isn't anything like the Hampton Court. It doesn't have a car park, and it definitely doesn't have a cafe. Who would want to sip coffee and eat overpriced egg sandwiches here? I think I'd rather staple my fingers together. I glanced at my dad, wondering if he feels as disenchanted as I do. Wow. But no, he's staring at the stupid castle like a kid on Christmas. Why does he look so excited? I don't get it. This place is amazing. You can really feel the history. I hope so. Nobody knows how old Dunscape is, but these ruins date back to at least the 14th century. It was built by MacLeod clan, who controlled most of Skye during the time. This castle's seen a fair amount of bloodshed. It was captured by the MacDonalds in 1450 or so, and then King James IV of Scotland seized power across the Isles and took Dunscape in the name of crown. The castle was taken over by the MacLeods again around the turn of the 16th century, but they abandoned it a century later. It's been left to fend for itself ever since. Oh no, I can't imagine why anyone would want to abandon this dump. I mumbled this quietly under my breath, but Piper still overhears me. She sidles up to me, smiling her bright, toothy smile, and says, "Don't be like that. I'm sure it looks nice back in the day, or what passed for being nice at least." I bet there was a big feast in the Great Hall with ducks and mutton and hares. The people way back when must have had a blast as... Oh, sorry, that's so real weird. Doesn't that sound like fun? Not really. I mean, there wouldn't be any Wi-Fi. I guess you have a point. People had to do what they could to entertain themselves back then. They didn't have Netflix or YouTube, and it's not like they could binge watch Game of Thrones. So they binge ate instead? I guess. I mean, you always hear about lavish medieval banquets. I've heard very rich people used to eat peacocks and swans. They're so small birds into bigger birds, and they used loaves of bread as plates, and they had all sorts of pies. Stop, please. I swear I can feel the fatty bacon and rubbery eggs shifting inside my stomach. I'm starting to feel queasy. Sorry, I guess I got a little overexcited. It's nice having somebody to talk to about this stuff. Somebody who will listen to me, I mean. You like medieval history? It's a hobby. Dad's pretty into all this, so we watch documentaries together sometimes. He takes me and Mom around these castles too. There's not much else to do in Skye, but there is a whole bunch of history. I've gathered. I glance back at the castle, my arms folded. 2 arched walls connect the mainland to Dunscape's tiny islet, but it doesn't look exactly safe. I guess this must have been a bridge at one point, fortified with stone. The stone remains hanging precariously over a several meter drop, but the wooden floor is completely rotten away. It would be impossible for the mainland to the island if you were careful enough. It would be possible to cross from the mainland to the island if you were careful enough, but I don't fancy my chances. I'm not much of a gymnast. In PE lessons, I never once been able to cross a balancing beam from start to end without slipping. My equilibrium already lacking, and my bell-shaped skirt and heeled shoes would make a potential crossing even more perilous. I bet Piper would hop across the remnants of this bridge easy peasy. She seems nimble enough, like a ginger boat, but I can't. It's not possible. It's a shame we've come all the way here, and we can't even look around this stupid castle properly. Oh? Piper grins mischievously. Do you want to look around? I thought you weren't interested. It'll make this whole trip slightly less pointless than it has been. But I don't want to risk trying to get over there. I could slip and break my neck. Hey, don't be like that. When there's a will, there's a way. Come with me. Hey, what? I bleed at Piper, disoriented, as she takes hold of my hand. I'm afraid she's going to drag me across a centuries-old bridge, incapable of taking no for an answer. She's even more pushy than I thought. This must be down to Ian's genes. The apple really doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm in danger of falling, though. I can't cross what remains of the bridge. I'll slip and fall, and then I'll crack my head open. My tights will get laddered, the pins will fall out of my hair, and the tide will get my dress all dirty. That sounds like a nightmare. If I had to die, I mean, we all die eventually, I'll prefer to do so in an elegant manner. I want to be laid to rest in a wooden coffin, lined with satin and filled with lilies like something from a marble tableau. I don't want bits and pieces of my scattered body being picked off the beach and crammed into a casket. Piper, wait! Slow down! I already told you, I can't cross the bridge. That's why we're not going to cross the bridge, silly. I've crossed it myself a few times. Of course she has. I was right about her. She really is like a mountain goat. But I never put you through that. I don't want you hurting yourself. Then how are we gonna get over? We won't go over, we'll go up. Up? But how? We need to drop down onto the shore and then scale the island from the beach. The tide's not come all the way in, so you should be fine. You might want to move quickly though, or your shoes will get wet. Huh? She's not talking about my rocking horse shoes, is she? The glossy black pair with the cute bows that cost well over £100? She can't seriously be suggesting that I scale the side of a 40-foot hill in these shoes, can she? It's not possible. There are some things in the world that can't be done no matter how hard you try, and this is one of them. I don't want to see this castle that badly. It's not like it's anything special. I don't care at all about the Scottish clans of 6 centuries prior. It might as well be Greek to me, or in this case, Gaelic. The castle's not worth the effort of exploring, so why am I going along with this? Why haven't I pulled my hand away from Piper's? And why is my heart pounding? I really don't know. I don't get it at all. I guess Dunscape is more than just a mossy, moldy pile of rocks. There might really be magic in there after all. So what do you think? It's nice, isn't it? Nice is one word for it, I guess. But it's not the word you choose. Not personally. I glance about the castle, my arms crossed. It looks just as rundown from up close as it did from afar, maybe even more so. Now that I'm actually standing among the overgrown grass, where the loose bits and pieces of castle wall lie, I can see how derelict this place is. I can hardly believe the remains of a castle like this could be a point of Scottish pride or a beloved national monument. It looks more like a demolition site than a point of public interest. The island is unkempt, the wild grass is so long, it's studded with top-heavy dandelion clogs and stinging nettles. I have to navigate very carefully so I don't twist my ankle or tear my tights. Not that my tights can be salvaged at this point. There's already a ladder in them after Piper hauled me all the way up here. At least this wasn't a particularly expensive pair of tights. They're just sheer white, without any sort of pattern. I had enough foresight to realize they might get ruined, so I dressed accordingly. Well, more or less accordingly. My shoes are still inordinately expensive, and so is my dress. What a waste. What's a waste coming up here? This whole holiday feels like a waste in general. I never want to come to Skye in the first place. Oh well, that makes the two of us. I was pretty against the idea when I heard I was gonna move. Mom said I had a bunch of temper tantrums. I didn't want to leave Manchester or my friends. But I was only a kid at the time. I think I was 6, and who listens to a 6-year-old? A gust of wind blows, tugging at the hem of Piper's jacket and her messy ponytail. A few locks of red hair fall in front of her eyes, but she doesn't try to brush them away. I've lived here over 10 years now, and I guess Skye's my home. It didn't feel like it at first though. The local primary school was so small. There were only 50 kids in my class. I stuck out like a sore thumb since I wasn't from around here. We had a special teacher who came in every week to teach us Gaelic. The other kids were pretty good at it. Some had been speaking it since they were born, but I didn't have a clue. I used to get teased a bit. It was kind of lonely. Kids can be really unforgiving. Maybe that's why I like old castles so much. They're pretty isolated. They're quiet too, when there aren't tourists hanging around. Sometimes it's nice being on my own. Piper stretches her hands above her head. The bones at her wrists and elbows click, the sound only faintly audible above the rolling surf below. My dad's still back on the mainland, camera in hand, snapping photos. Ian and Hilda are with him. Ian's doubtlessly regaling my fathers with facts about the MacLeods of Skye, and as for Hilda, Who knows what she's doing? They'll probably come to look at Dunscape for themselves in due course. Lord Ian can't resist showing Skye's side off, but for the moment it's just me and Piper. I can still see my dad all the way over on the mainland, and the glare of Ian's superfluous sunglasses, but it feels like I've left him behind in another land. Sorry for getting all gloomy on you, Dad. I didn't mean to bring the mood down. We didn't come here to hear about my mopey old childhood. Besides, that all happened years ago. Why don't we look around a bit more? I can tell you all sorts of stories about this place. Piper is back to her bright, bouncy self, but something about her smile still looks a bit strained. I guess things aren't as sunny in Skye as that would have me believe. Does Piper resent this place? Maybe she wishes she never came here. If that's the case, I understand. I'm sick of Skye, and I've been here for a day. Imagine living here for 10 years. No, I just can't do it. It's too depressing. Let's take a look at that wall over yonder. Piper points to one of the few walls that's still standing, clinging to the edge of the island. We can talk while we walk. I can see it just fine from here, thanks. Despite my protest, I find myself walking behind Piper all the same. It's a little jarring. I never knew I was so meek. Normally, I'm not. My dad says I'm individualistic. My form teacher, meanwhile, says I'm stubborn. Piper's presence is something of a comfort, though. It feels like she's sanding down my sharp, jagged edges. I don't care about hurting Ian's feelings, but I don't want to upset her daughter, his daughter. We explore the island together. It's small, so there's not much of a distance to cover, but the island's slanted, so I have to walk uphill. Careful! Piper's voice trills, a pace or two ahead of me. You never know what's hidden in the tall grass. One wrong step and you might slip. I'll be fine, I'm not a little kid. That's what I retort at least, but Piper's advice is more sound than first I gave it credit for. I bring my right foot down, but the ground rushes up to meet me far faster than I thought I would. There must have been a loose stone, maybe several loose stones hidden in the undergrowth obscured from view. My ankle twists and I unbalance on my impractically high heels. I teeter precariously and gravity soon rushes to claim me. I'm so shocked I can't even scream. I'm going to fall! This time I really will crack my head open. I squeeze my eyes shut, waiting for the worst. But it never happens. You're right, Allie, I've got you. I feel a pair of arms wrap around my shoulders, steadying me just in time. I blink, my false eyelashes trembling, and glance up. Piper is a few inches away from me, her body pressed against my own. We're so close, her nose is almost brushing mine, and her blue eyes big with concern. When I inhale, I can smell the tall grass and a faint trace of something synthetic that might be Piper's shampoo. I told you to be careful. Why didn't you listen to me? Piper's scolding, mild though it is, stings, and I push her away. I pout, offering my savior a scowl. I did listen. I tried to be careful. It's not like I wanted to follow or anything. My dress would have been ruined. Do you have any idea how expensive this piece is? It's by Alice and the Pirates. Alice? It's a brand of clothes. They're very, very exclusive. I had to get this ship all over from Japan. The postage fees alone was a nightmare. This dress were over £200. 200 pounds for a dress? Piper whistles. I can't tell if she's impressed or bemused. Maybe it's a mix of both? That's crazy. I've never spent that much on my clothes. Yes, well, I can see that. I sniff, stung, looking Piper up and down. I take in her messy hair, her oversized hoodie, and her worn leggings. Her clothes look like charity store rejects, something you could scrape together for under £5. I'm being unnecessarily rude. I know I am. Snobbish too. There's really no sense in wearing such an elaborate outfit on a hiking holiday in Skye. I'm being impractical. My dad said the same thing. Piper has every right to get on my case for being bitchy, but she doesn't. She smiles, gently this time, and draws away from me, setting me back down on solid ground. Sorry for being sharp with you. I was just worried. I didn't want you to hurt yourself. Your dress might have been expensive. I can see why. It's really pretty, but there's only one of you, and you're priceless. Be more careful, okay? I don't want you breaking any bones. I pout again and turn my nose up in the air. You sound like my dad. I do? Piper giggles. That's amazing. I guess I'm more responsible than I look. My scowl deepens. Why do you care so much about me anyway? We hardly know each other. Well, why not? Like I said, Skye's pretty small. I don't have that many friends my own age, even now. Or at all, really. I've always been the odd one out. You're my friend now, though, so I gotta look out for you. Isn't that common sense? Friends? Are we really? Well, what else are we? You don't want to be my nemesis, do you? No, I don't tell Piper that spot's reserved for her dad. Ian Carter is the cause behind all my suffering. Piper hasn't done anything wrong. It's not her fault my dad dragged me all the way out here. Alright, fine, whatever. I'm too tired for an argument right now and my ankle's still sore. We can be friends, but just for this week, okay? When I go back to London, I want to put Skye as far behind me as possible. Yay! Piper bounces excitedly on the heels of her dirty trainers, looking like an over-eager kid. Thanks, Allie. I can call you Allie, right? I'm so glad you want to be my friend. Hey, speaking of which, Piper grins. Since we're friends now, you want my phone number? That way we can keep in touch even when you have to leave. Well, if you really want to, I guess. I do want to. I want to very much. Let me get my phone. I frown, unamused as Piper pulls her phone, an old model, with a crack down the screen, from her pocket. That is so like Piper. I can't help but roll my eyes. I have to look away while Piper fiddles with her phone, my arms folded. Her smile is a little too bright. I'm afraid it'll blind me. My face feels hotter than usual despite the mild weather and my heart's still thumping. I wonder why. I twisted my ankle more sharply during my fall than I thought, and while walking isn't impossible, it feels pretty painful. Piper sees me wince with every step and she slows down to accommodate me. She ushers me over to a clump of broken stone wall, then tells me to sit. You need to take a break. You shouldn't be putting more pressure than necessary on your leg. I try to be honest. I try to protest, citing the cost of my dress and my desire to keep it clean. I do not want it getting dirty, thank you very much, but Piper refutes my points. I already told you, Allie, you're more important than your dress. You can clean that, no problem, but your body is way more delicate. I'm tempted to tell Piper that it won't be no problem, actually, because a lot of my dresses, this one included, are expensive and they need to be dry clean at specialty places. But I don't have a choice. She's still talking. Besides, I didn't want to bring this up, but your dress is already a little stained. She's right about that, though I wish she wasn't. I didn't just lather my tights during the climb to this island. I got smuts of dirt over the hem of my dress. Ugh. Today just isn't my day, and it's not even noon yet. I guess I might as well sit down after all these mishaps, otherwise I might faint. I mean, why not? Everything else that can go wrong has gone wrong. I'm not particularly prone to swooning, but a sudden bout of anemia doesn't sound too unlikely. During this time, our parents have made the crossing to the castle. My dad's standing a few paces away, camera out, taking photos of the ruined walls in painstaking detail. He seems pretty enthused, though I have no idea why. Is he planning to put these photos in some kind of family album? Maybe he'll show them to Mom the next time we meet. I'm sure she'll get a kick out of that. Not. Ian's with my dad, chatting a mile a minute about something I, quite mercifully, can't hear over the wind. Hilda, meanwhile, is standing by the shore, looking out over the slate-grey ocean. Piper doesn't seem all that interested in spending time with her parents, though. She's pretty content to sit here with me instead. It's a good thing my clothes aren't that expensive, huh? I don't have anything to ruin. She kicks her leg back and forth. They're clad in a pair of black leggings, which are peppered and there with holes. She's also wearing a pair of dirty trainers with thick threads meant for serious walking. Those shoes are pretty large. They look almost clown-like when contrasted with how slender Piper's legs are. I wonder how big her feet are. Piper must have seen me looking because she grins. I'm a size 13 in case you're curious. A size 13? Is that even possible? There's just no way. My own feet are a dainty size 4, and in European sizes that's a 37, and in Japanese it's a 22.5. I know this figure's off my heart since I ordered so many shoes through Taobao. I don't think I've ever seen size 13 feet on these size comparison charts. Even factoring in differences between man and woman sizing, that's bigger than my dad's. That's right, it's a little embarrassing actually. It's hard to find shoes that fit. These shoes are actually my dad's old ones. They fit me well enough, I guess. I don't think I'll be able to wear fancy heels like yours. They wouldn't make them in my size. I guess I'll be stuck wearing ugly men's shoes until I die. Oh, woe is me. Since I can't find any cute women's shoes that fit me, I figured I might as well give up on fashion altogether. What's the point of putting together a nice outfit if you have to pair it with old trainers like these? You look nice though. Allie, you're so fancy. What sort of dress is that anyways? It's called Lolita. Lolita, huh? Like the book? No, not like the book. They're not related. Lolita's clothes are inspired by Victorian fashion. It was created in Japan during the late 1980s or so. There's a bunch of different subsets like sweet and gothic, but... My voice trails off. Piper's eyes are glazed. I'm not sure she's really listening. I'm not being obnoxious as Ian, am I? I don't want to bore Piper to death. It's not like I care about what she thinks that much, but I don't want to make a completely terrible impression on her. Well, it's just a fashion style, that's all. I think it's a nice fashion. I don't really have a style of my own. Not unless teenage boy who still wears clothes his mom picked out counts. I laugh a little at this. I can't help it. Piper's pretty good at easing the mood. I don't think you look like a boy. Your clothes are at least color coordinated. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Piper continues to swing her legs back and forth, looking out over the ocean all the while. Speaking of princesses, a princess used to live on this island centuries upon centuries ago. I didn't know these warring Gaelic clans had princesses. I thought they were all run by warlords? Oh, this princess isn't related to Macleods. She lived on this island long before they did, back in the 200 BC. She was the daughter of the king of Scythia, and she was called Sketha. I guess she was technically a princess, but she didn't wear pretty dresses like yours or have tea parties. She was more like a warrior queen. She trained a bunch of famous Irish heroes, and some accounts even say she was the goddess of the underworld. She could use magic and she was incredibly strong. Isn't that cool? I guess that does sound cooler than the fights between the Macleods and whatever your dad was going on about. But it's not really real, is it? It's all made up. It's probably not real. No, I don't believe in warrior queens or goddesses of the underworld, but it's still a fun story. I thought you might like it. You look like the sort of gal who would appreciate a fairy story or two, since you dress so fancy. Piper giggles. Maybe I should address you like you really are a princess. Should I call you milady and curtsy? Your dad made the same joke yesterday and it wasn't funny then either. Oh, he did? That's so lame. I thought I was being original too. Plus, I'm not trying to poke fun. Not like that was. I'm being serious. You're just like a real princess. Because of my clothes? No, not just that. Because of your whole demeanor, I guess. Your clothes are pretty out there, but you're so self-confident. You don't seem to care about what people say. You're kind of aloof, but I think it's incredible. I could never pull that off. You're pretty impressive, Allie. And I think you're very pretty too. I wish I could be just like you. Alright, I think I'm gonna end it for here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day or evening. Bye now.